Well, our moms think we're funny.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Our Moms Think We're Funny. This is Turk182, and I'm here with...
Acomi.
It's Acomi. And also with us is our special guest who we just recently did a Let's Watch Of, and we did Splatter University. They're back for Our Moms Think We're Funny podcast, and it is our good friend...
Leeroy Strongfeet.
Leeroy Strongfeet.
Yeah.
Leeroy, is it still Hairy Strongfeet, or is that only for when we're doing a Let's Watch?
Only when I'm feeling hairy.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel too hairy right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I shaved yesterday. I'm just worried about my feet.
Okay. Well, yeah. Do you have that itchy thing when you shave your feet, and the hair starts to grow back, where your feet just kind of itch, or do you have to wear sandals afterwards and not socks?
Yes.
Oh, okay. See, I don't shave my feet. I actually hot wax them.
I only shave my feet.
You only shave your feet.
Don't shave anything else.
No, of course not. Who does that?
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say I do a little manscaping. It's probably more than my listeners want to hear. But I do a little manscaping. I cannot stand hair down there. It's so primitive to me. I absolutely cannot stand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, so I do different things, So back when I was younger, I had a little high top fade, just used to get like little things shavings in my head. So I do the same thing now. Just I put like a little like a little star and moon down there sometimes.
I was about to ask if you did a star pattern.
Yeah, and I do once for Halloween I did a Cheshire cat. It was like so that like the cat's like face and body went down. And then like the tail started to kind of curve down, and then like it made it look like my penis was the tail. It was, and the only reason that really worked is because my penis is striped.
So what are we going to talk about today?
That's because I'm mixed ethnicity.
I'm done with all that. What are we talking about today?
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Leroy. It's good to have you, man.
You're welcome. I'm sacrificing much needed sleep for this, but you're welcome.
Sleep is overrated.
Yeah. Hey, you're going to hear a lot of disturbance because I was trying to reposition this stupid microphone, and there's going to be a lot of click and clack in there. Sorry about that.
That's cool. We get background noise sometimes.
Yeah. It's probably going to be a little obnoxious. You might silent a few clips right there, but actually it probably just blocked out a lot of inane, ridiculous tirade right there. So maybe it's for everybody's benefit.
Who? What now? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Your stupid tirade.
Okay.
What are we talking about, guys?
I'm sorry, I believe someone was dropping some names. So what are we talking about today? Today we are actually going to do something kind of more in favor with what you like. So we're going to talk about horror movie films.
Thank you.
I would like to since this is your first podcast with us, and kind of get people to know who you are, a little bit about you.
Sure.
We both, Acomi and I both know you, and that you're a huge like horror movie fan.
Yes.
But I want you to kind of talk a little bit about like your horror movies and like kind of your interest in them, because that's what we're going to talk about today is horror movies, and but kind of just introduce people a little bit to like kind of your collection, let's say.
Okay, my collection of horror movies. Sorry, I'm being distracted. I'm watching the wave file, just trying to judge how good the sound quality is going to be for this. It looks like it's going to be okay, so we're probably all right there. But I am using a cheaper microphone. Okay, my collection of horror. Oh man, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I'm talking about like you have like you. Like some people are classic horror movie, people like I only like really what we consider really good horror movie. And some people are like, it has to be like something that's really good and really but your taste has like a wide range, so that's what I'm saying. Like, like horror as a wide range topic, like, not like your entire, every movie you have, but kind of like, that.
Sure, I'll get into kicks. It just depends on kind of what I'm in the mood for. I recently got onto an Italian cannibal exploitation kick, and I rewatched all the those really brutal cannibal films.
Like the Fulcis.
Yeah, well, I can't say Fulci. I mean, he did Zombie, which but is Ruggero Deodato and oh God, I can't remember. I can't stop just start dropping names right now. Too tired for all that. But, stuff like Make Them Die Slowly or a.k.a. Cannibal Pharaoh or Cannibal Holocaust. And of course, Eli Roth did The Green Inferno, which I really liked. But it's like I'll get in the mood for something, but I'm really all over the board. And my issue, and that's why I appreciate you guys taking time out to talk about horror with me, is that's really the only place I dwell. It's like I wander off into sci-fi territory every once in a while, and other thing I like. I like other things, action films. I've even watching Inspector Lewis, Masterpiece Theater from time to time.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I really dwell in horror, and yeah, it's just all over. I mean, and more recently, I was watching Killer Crocodile yesterday that I got on Blu-ray. It's just a cheesy old Italian Jaws ripoff. So yeah, just pretty much anything horror. I've been shying away from the ghost flicks. I'm wimping out on ghost flicks these days. Um, they're just
Yeah,
freaking me out too much. I just God, I saw Hereditary, and
I've heard that's really good.
oh my God, I had to turn it off. I mean, it was just messing with me so bad. It's just too much. That stuff just creeps me out way too much. I'll take a think I prefer I like weird Cronenberg. I like it. I like if it's got some pizzazz. I want to say I watched horror whenever and wherever I could as a kid, and it was hard as a kid. Your parents obviously don't want you watching Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, so you always try to go over to your friend's house whose parents are a little more laid back about what you're getting at Blockbuster. And I watched all these slashers. By the time I was 13, they said I was okay to watch these horror movies. They figured I was ready for them, and so I was living in Texas at the time, and I'd bike down to the video store, and that was my thing. Just get just stack up some horror movies and bike them on home carrying a bag, and I just sit in my room and watch horror movies. I was going through a real hard time back then, so I think as like I think I spent more time just watching movies. I was in a neighborhood full of bullies and jocks who were all about football, and I was this geeky artistic kid, so I was like suffering from some kind of agoraphobia. Had a terrible home life, so I just escaped it. Horror movies,
Into
blah, blah.
horror.
Into horror, yeah. But where I'm going with this is one day I rented. It was called Creepers, which is actually the U.S. cut of Dario Argento's Phenomena, and I saw in that changed my life. That's why Argento is. He's the awesome iconic dude who can do no wrong. Even his worst movies I have some respect for because they were done for by him. He just showed me horror. If you were to ask me, where I dwelt the most, definitely horror that just has something special to it. I like the cheapies and just exploitation flicks, but when there's an actual artistic eye behind it, those are the ones that stick with me.
Okay. So last time we were physically together,
Yeah.
I think we were just we weren't really watching. They were on, but we weren't really watching them. But I think we watched 3 horror movies. One of them was oh crap. It was Dylan Dog. But I don't remember the name of it.
De La Morte, Cemetery Man. Did I show you that?
Yep.
There's no way I would.
With Rupert Everett.
Yeah, sure. One of my favorites for sure. Directed by Michele Soavi.
And there was the one we saw, which Acomi and I have talked about several times because we're like, what was that movie? And like the ending made no sense. Where after they go through all this stuff and they're in the catacombs and they fight the evil, the woman and the guy who I think may have been a priest or whatever, they escape, and then all of a sudden she just starts screaming for no reason, and then it cuts the credits.
Oh, The Beyond.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I was like, what the hell was that about? You
Wait,
go
no.
through all stuff, you defeat the evil, and then now you're gonna break down?
Oh no! I'm messing that up. That was The Gates of Hell, I think. That was the other Fulci flick.
That sounds right.
Yeah, the gates of hell. Yeah, that was so creepy though, because all of a sudden they just start screaming because the kids are running back to it. It's the most. That scene, I'm sure someone knows what's going on with that. I'm not the big enough. I'm not the big enough thing. Look, I love horror, but I'm not the geek that has all the answers or knows all the cast and crew and all that stuff. So I hope people don't call me out on this. I mean, I'm not the source book, okay? But like, the kids start running. They say the kids are okay, and the kids are running towards them. I'm getting creeped out just remembering that scene. It was the most effective WTF type scene, fitting of like the Kubrick's The Shining or something like that. Just because the kids are running like all happy and so happy to see him, and they're looking at the kids and they see something we're not seeing that is terrifying them.
Is that what it is? That she sees something, or
that's all I can figure. It's like I was always just like, what just happened? And the more I start thinking about it, the more I'm just like, whoa. It's the unseen things in horror movies that are actually the scariest. It's when you don't know why, but like that, you can feel the terror, and you could feel the terror of those characters screaming. And we don't know what their size. There's something so much scarier in that than if they'd just shown, another, gory, bloody zombie shambling around or something. They saw something so freaky, but we just see the kids running toward them weird. That's kind of a mind screw right there.
Yeah, because as far as we know that they've defeated the evil.
Yeah.
And they go through all that stuff.
But then something is terribly wrong as the kids are running back toward them. Yeah.
I can't remember what the third movie was, because I know we were barely paying attention to them.
Right.
And then sometimes you'd stop, be like, oh, check out this scene, check out this scene.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't the last one we watched Dead Alive?
Did we watch Dead Alive?
Yeah.
Did we watch Dead Alive together?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like you almost changed it out because you were like, oh, you've seen it. I was like, yeah, I've seen it, but keep it on. I want to watch it again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dead Alive is worth watching and rewatching. Great film. Yeah, that was another one. That was another one when that came out. Actually, I've been reading Fangoria there. I've seen articles about this. I mean, they were still calling it Brain Dead up until the release came out and it was Dead Alive. And I saw all the pictures in Fangoria. I said, oh, yeah, this new movie, blah, 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 and it finally came out. I ran out, found a copy at the video store, took it home. It's like one of those movies. What I was saying about Zoller's Bone Tomahawk, that's how I felt at the end of Dead Alive. I walked out of my room just kind of laughing, just chuckling and giggling to myself and catching my breath. That movie was such a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just nonstop laughs and gore. It climaxes with the shoulder-strapped lawnmower.
Yeah,
flying
great.
gore, and the mutated mother that takes her son back into her womb.
that movie's disturbing.
It's very disturbing, but it's got that line that I love from the priest, which we were talking about during the Let's Watch.
I kick ass for the Lord. Yeah, no one,
it's so good.
No one will forget that. Yeah, there's so many classic scenes. Timothy Balm, I think, was the actor in that. He was really good.
So you kind of talked a little bit about your genres, but one of the things that we were talking about, because Acomi and I are horror fans, but not to the same extent that you are, and we have a we approach our horror differently, even just among just the two of us. Sure. Not even as a team, we approach our horror differently. So I stay away from like possession movies. I find those,
for sure.
I find those boring.
Boring.
I really do.
Man, they just freak me out too much. But okay.
Yeah, like paranormal entity and all that kind of stuff. Those things are so damn boring. I'm like, dude, I'm like, oh, come on, man, come on. And it's what I think is missing from so we've got our cheesy horror, which is like what we just watched this Friday University, right? Yeah. We got your cheesy horror, which is good stuff because you're not going to take it seriously at all, and we're really there to see some really interesting deaths. And and some boobage, really.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you go back to I think a couple of horror movie documentaries, they talk about it. When you go back to those things, it was that was kind of that was one of the things you lured young adolescent males into the movie with was. See a horror movie, your parents would be like, oh, it's okay. It's like, here's a movie with sex and boobs. No. Here's a movie with people getting stabbed. Okay. Yep. And we're going to sneak some horror and some boobies in there too, because, and that's what's really going to kind of keep you there is you're like, yeah, people, I don't really care about people getting killed. but I know if I stay long enough, I'm gonna get some boobies. But in the thing with not to get too much off on this because that's going to be kind of a thing we're talk about later. But one thing with Splatter University that I guess would have been refreshing in any other movie.
Yes.
Is that when you're watching a horror movie, it normally sets it up in the beginning that here are the people you want to live, here are the people you want to die, right?
Yes.
And normally the people that you want to die are people that are just like, oh, this person's just such a jerk, right?
Yeah.
So you feel a little better about watching the killer get them, even though the killer's a horrible person, they're the killer, right? But it's like, yeah, but you're getting this, and then the good people are going to stop you and everything's okay, right? Splatter University didn't have that. They didn't really set anybody up enough to be the asshole of the group, right?
Yes.
So I had no connection to anybody.
With no emotional connection to the people who were being terrorized or butchered or whatnot. It just makes it kind of fall flat. There is that satisfaction. Watching a horror movie, it's all fake and it's just fantasy. So you don't have to feel too bad.
Right.
For the people getting knifed because it's cheesy, it's just unreal. I had that conversation the other day. I said, I went and saw, It Part 2. I said, I don't really like the idea of, young people getting killed. That's a sensitive topic. But I said, we are talking about a alien demon clown. So I can enjoy the movie and it's not really striking a nerve. I'm not too worried about a demon alien clown coming around here.
Right.
So it's, and I guess that's my way of saying you can take it with a grain of salt. You it's fake, and that's why you can enjoy this stuff. And so there is that satisfaction when people are acting like a jerk. Just to say, oh man, I'm glad Jason chopped that dude's head off. He was being such a jackass.
Yeah.
In real life, you'd say, well, he was a jackass. I don't think he needed that to happen to teach him a lesson. Maybe someone could have punched him in the face or something. But in a horror movie,
Right.
And then it's of course worse when good innocent people, good people bite it. Those are two different kind of movies. Those cheesy ones, they're just entertainment. They're just good fun. Then you got other movies that are more scary where you don't know, everybody's game, that throws everything into chaos a little bit. And,
when we watched, Evils of the Night was the one we watched the last time, and so kind of like this movie, Spider University we just watched. Evils of the Night, the people that you thought were gonna live, that were like, okay, this is the protagonist, right? This is the good person, and even they got killed. And it was like, whoa, this kind of goes against the grain of like the horror movie deal. And it's like, and I didn't feel good afterwards. It's a shitty movie, right? But I didn't feel good afterwards about that because it's like, well, you got rid of the people that I really liked, or the ones that I thought were going to survive, the ones that were going to stop the bad guys, and then the end of it, really, like the bad guys weren't really stopped at all. So it's like, you talk about, like, well, yeah, I get this kind of, and it's almost like a cathartic thing, but then that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'll tell you something. I've watched a lot of movies, not limited to horror movies, but sometimes they actually work me up against the villain so bad. Sometimes they make the villain. I think I've seen movies where a guy has hurt kids or something like that. Harry Brown, I think, was one with Michael Caine. Yeah, boy, man, it made me hate the bad guys in that so bad. And spoiler alert, I guess I'm supposed to say, if you're fixing to watch the movie, then skip the next 10 seconds. You get to the end of the film, and actually I won't even say how, but it's just, bing bang boom, dead. I'm like, dude, you made me hate that guy so much, and he got the easy way out. You know, it was just, I said that kind of stuff. I mean, then you take Rambo. I can talk at length why the John Rambo, the fourth one, not this most recent one, this goes for the more recent one too. But man, after watching the village get slaughtered, I mean, that messed with me so bad. That upset me so bad. Yeah, I is just so upset by that, you know, and just how close to home that was different than it, you know, because we're not talking about like a demon clown. We're talking about the portrayal of humans doing this to other humans, and it's based on what you know what is actually going on. So it's very emotionally heavy for me. And then I mean the one part the guy's getting ready to rape the woman, and Rambo comes up behind him. And I gotta say, this is just such a satisfying kill of seeing, you know, Rambo sinks his fingers into the meat of that guy's throat, and you just see the hatred boiling over in Rambo. It's just you said cathartic. It was totally that. Just watching him off that guy, and all the rage involved, like just seeing that hatred seething in him right up until the point he rips the throat out. I think the director's cut shows it a little more graphic. Very nice, and it just made me feel so good. It was like a sigh of relief. I'm like, yeah, that was good. That was worth it. If he'd just come up and like, boom, dead, I'd be, it wouldn't quite be the same.
Right.
So
Because you loathe that guy.
Yeah.
What he's about to do is horrible, and
Right.
you're like, this guy is just a despicable human being,
Right.
and you don't want it to be quick. You want him to feel this.
he's
yeah,
got.
that,
Sorry, he's got to feel a little bit of what he was just getting ready to do. You know,
Right.
It's not. It just doesn't. It's not balanced if he just gets. Just gets sent to hell just like that. You know, he's got to have his nose rubbed in his mess a little bit before he's So that, I mean, I think as long as we're talking about the satisfying kills in these movies, you made a good point with Splatter University. It's just like, here's this person we don't know anything about, and and off they go.
Right.
Stabbed in the guts. It's like, okay, well, what's the significance here? I don't know anything about them. I'm not really sad they're gone. I don't.
right.
Not sad for this fictional character. And here's a disclaimer for you: death in reality is not cool at all. We are, once again, we're talking about fiction, movies, entertainment.
So I do want to. We haven't really let Acomi say anything.
No, it's cool.
But I do want to talk about something that you touched on a minute ago, which is you're talking about how some of these movies have an effect on you. To you're like, yeah, I like that's too much for me. It's like this movie or this scene or whatever really impacts me, and I don't like which. I think what a lot of people think about people that love horror, and you love horror. I mean, we've seen your horror collection, and you just said, I will go into this sometimes, go into that sometimes, but primarily you love horror. And we've talked about, off mic about all the different types of horror you like. We've talked about things like trauma films. We've talked about like good, strong horror, and we've talked about just cheesy stuff. You talk about like the Italian exploitation movies. You've seen horror movies that that we haven't even heard of, and you're like, oh yeah, well, you probably can't get this in the States anymore because it was only released like this time, and I got it from this place or whatever. Things that we've never even heard of before. That's because that's the genre you like. And when people hear about someone that likes that, they tend to think of these people as being, even when you talk about, I just good old fashioned like kind of like exploitation, kind of a blood and guts kind of thing. That is like these people are twisted, morbid people that just like to just watch bad things happen, but they don't hear about people like where they're saying this is like I am impacted and I have like strong feelings about people getting hurt in certain ways, or this is not cool. I don't like the way this feels. I don't like watching this the way that makes me feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do like to watch horror, and I do like watching people get killed in horror movies.
Yes.
Which is different, than watching any other kind of movie, let's say, where someone gets hurt or killed. Mm-hmm. Because horror movies are set up in a certain way, as we were talking about, to where you want people that not that you feel are bad people, but are shown to be bad people, right? And you want them to kind of get their just desserts, Yes. And you want the people that are shown as being good people, to live and because that's what you want, which isn't always reality.
Yes.
But then you see some scenes there and you're like, no, that's not cool at all. I don't like that. It hurts me to see that, or that does not bring me any kind of like joy or comfort at all. I do like that you know that you kind of you bring that to it when you're talking about something because you are a true fan. Like I said, when it comes for me for horror and I've got the movies I've like, and I've got some cheesy ones that I like, and you know, for various reasons. You know, and then I've got my horror collection is very, very small compared to everything else because I am very picky about it. And I have certain feelings about like what makes a good horror movie and what doesn't, and how you establish, you know, that, you know, but it's like I said, you have a completely different take on what you like and how you approach it, and, you know, and your spectrum of like everything and the enjoyment you get from different things. So if you're watching like Italian exploitation, right, you're expecting certain things from that movie. It's horror and classification, but what it brings and embodies is completely different than if you're going to watch something else like what's that one? I was going to say Babadook, but you know you like that. But what's that one? It
Follows.
It Follows.
It Follows
Yeah.
is great. That was such a good movie.
Good movie. Yeah.
And then you talked about, you mentioned the Green Inferno earlier. That's the one where they go to the Mayan temple, right?
No.
Which one's the Green Inferno is the one where they're the what's that, like missionaries or whatever?
Yeah, the students go to the Amazon to protest the destruction of a tribe's land,
Right.
and it's a little complicated. Yeah, they go down there and they're trying to help them out, and ironically, they are captured by the natives and eaten.
Yeah, it's almost like a modern day or like Eli Roth's version of Cannibal Holocaust.
It's a pure homage, and that's what I loved. I loved that it was Eli Roth doing an homage to the Italian cannibal exploitation films, and I loved how he did it. It was a hit or miss. A lot of people hated it. I've heard a lot of horror fans. I typically enjoy Eli Roth's work a lot, and I thoroughly enjoyed the Green Inferno. I liked his style to it. You know, it had humor. It had some parts that were ridiculous. It had a lot of brutality. It was just a lot of fun. What's
the one where the people go to the Mayan temple and like the earth in this just trying to kill them?
Oh man, I have no idea what that is.
I don't know about a Mayan temple. I know there's the one where they go into the catacombs, which was So Below, or no, As Above.
As Below.
Yeah, As Above, so Below, or something like that.
Yeah,
that was
As
good.
Above, So Below.
That's the one that takes place in like Paris, right?
Yes.
They go into like the thing where it's like all bones and stuff.
Yeah, they're going into the catacombs. Yeah, that movie was jacked. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
There's a movie, I can't remember what it was called, but like it's like a group of like kids are like hiking through like Mexico or something like that, and there is this big like pyramid, and like the actual like the vines and stuff are trying to kill them, and they're trying to get away from like the grass and the trees. It's not like The Happening, but yeah, shit, I wish I could remember it. I thought it was called the Green Mile. I don't know. How about the word green meanie?
Yeah.
But I didn't see all of it. I just remember seeing part of that.
I've never seen that. What you're talking about? I've never heard of that. But okay.
Let me see if I can look it up here. So since we're mentioning green things, and I'm going to kind of jump over to Acomi here so he can kind of talk about his stuff. But Green Room.
Yeah.
Green Room.
What do you think about that?
The Green Room. I think wasn't
so
that with Captain Picard?
Yeah.
I only saw the beginning of it up until the point where they witness a murder.
Yeah, I heard that was supposed to be a pretty good one.
I'm sure it's very suspenseful. The premise and the setup was really good. It was real realistic. It was a very realistic film. So I'm sure it's pretty intense. I never.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't help you there. But
No problem.
Captain Picard played a white supremacist though. So.
Oh. All right. So Acomi, why don't you go ahead and jump in there and talk about some of what you like about horror.
It's kind of like what Lee was saying. It really just sort of depends on like the specifics of the horror movie. Because I look at something like Friday the 13th or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that's just like, that's pure fun fodder for me. It's like, yeah, it's a little trashy. You're just there really just to see like gruesome kills and tits,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
It's cheap thrills, you know. It's
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
can,
it's
there's the moral question, you know. A lot of people, it's a real good question, and jump in if you want. You just started talking. I hate
oh yeah,
to,
it's cool.
but I hope this complements what you're talking about. I ended up watching. I watched. I got the special edition of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or whatever. It had William Friedkin, the great director, interviewing the late Tobe Hooper, and he asked a really good question. I wish Tobe had given a good answer, but he said, would you want to go hang out with a bunch of cannibals in a house and watch your friends get eaten?" And Tobe Hooper's obvious answer was no. No, I don't think so. And then Friedkin said, so why is your movie so popular? I said, that is a really good question, you know, because we
That's a
ask
great
ourselves,
question.
like, why are we, you know, why really are we enjoying it? It's a huge topic for discussion. I can pick it apart all day, but
Oh
you know,
yeah, yeah.
I think my easiest, breeziest answer is just, man, it's just cheap thrills, and I like it. It scares me, and I know it's not real, so I don't feel guilty for enjoying it, you know, because it's just a
Yeah,
fantasy,
yeah.
it's a fairy tale, you
Yeah,
know,
I think it's like a guilty pleasure kind of thing, and it's also just kind of a release.
for
Like
sure.
it's good stress release to just see a bunch of assholes just get slaughtered.
Yep, yeah, and just the feeling of being scared, you know, or
Oh yeah,
getting to
yeah,
visit that world. I mean, why do we go on haunted house rides at a Why do we enjoy Halloween? I say you get to get scared in a harmless way, and there's no guilt. No one got hurt. You know, it was all is we all know was it's fake.
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I say. And also it's like talking about how a lot of people, see a horror fan. I was like, you like seeing all this gruesome stuff. You must be a really bad person. I've had a lot of frustration with that kind of BS, because when I was a teenager, it was partially my fault because I tried to shock people back. I'd come off a little over 2 years of straight bullying from a bunch of jocks, so I started lashing out and just started trying to piss people off and be real scary. That's a totally different side of the story. But ultimately, beside that front I was putting on, that facade to scare off would-be bullies, I mean, the truth was I was just a really nice kind of passive guy. A lot of people kind of saw that, but he also had, like, I'd encounter people who'd start talking to me, and a couple of them would say, like, man, I always thought you like worshiped Satan. And I'd say, well, why? There's like, well, you're into death metal. You wear all these, creepy, crazy shirts. Like I even had a pretty good friend who said, dude, I cannot believe you are a Christian. I said, I consider myself a Christian. He's like, well, you're into all this death metal. I said, dude, it's like, that's, if you really think about it, isn't that the same kind of naive, like infuriating BS you deal with all these busybodies who like think you're a maniac because you enjoy scary stuff? I said, so you're saying because you enjoy scary entertainment that you like real horror, that you like real life violence. I said that's just the word, just like the most annoying thing to me.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
all right.
So why would you honestly think that that because I like to watch a movie, that maybe like because I would like to watch the Three Stooges, I want to walk around poking everybody in the eyeballs, be like,
Yeah.
no.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The same thing. They're like, I can't believe you're a Christian. I said, so I have to like really want to be an evil person just because I enjoy like heavy music and scary movies. I said,
Right, right.
that's such a cliche. It's just a simple-minded conclusion.
It,
Uh,
it's such a it's such a like a fear mongering mindset. It's the same thing as just like even as far back as the 50s, where it was like, oh, comics are trying to pervert the minds of the youth, and it's that kind of thing, and it just kind of carried over into the 70s and 80s with the horror films and the rock music.
yeah. I think,
That it's oh yeah, go ahead.
well, sorry, you said with the rock music. I didn't mean to cut you off. Feel free to.
Yeah, I know I'm rambling.
Oh, no, I'm rambling too. I was kind of going with what you were saying, but I I don't want to cut you off. Tell me to shut up if I cut you off. Um, Oh no, what was I gonna say? Well, a lot of people just don't like horror, and that's fine. It gets too close to them. They don't feel comfortable watching this stuff because maybe they just the same way some stuff is too much to me for me. And I think one of the things is that makes it so easy for me is I see it as the cheesy ones in particular. I see it for the baloney that it is oftentimes, and even the stuff that really does strike a chord with me. It's still it's it's still a scare that kind of has a point to it. In the end, there's usually a point. Um, the bad guys get theirs eventually, even if you do end up watching innocent people suffer. As long as there's usually a kind of there's a point to it.
Yeah.
And I understand just a lot of people don't like that. The same way, like I understand people, I hear death metal and I start like moving. It's like it's pure energy moving through me. But it's like other people hear it and it's just an obnoxious noise. I get that. It just doesn't have chemistry with them. So I just think it's unfair when they can't understand the kind of that you have chemistry with a certain kind of more morbid form of entertainment. In the same way, I don't have a problem with them for sitting around watching Bridget Jones's Diary. But they just don't get it. They don't understand, and that's fine. But as long as they don't start jumping to really stupid, naive conclusions about it. Anyway, I don't know how we got on that whole topic. I guess we're dealing with the topic of morality of enjoying this kind of thing.
Right.
Well, for me, it was more of like the impression that people have for or someone that like, oh, I like to watch horror movies. I think there's a large percentage of people that like to watch horror movies, right? But when you get to like a certain type of horror movie, they kind of back off. They're like, oh no, I don't need to see all that stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, you I don't think anybody technically needs to, right? But if I do like to watch that, that doesn't make me any kind of deviant.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that I'm like I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if someone did that in real life? I take this back to the like one of the early episodes of The Simpsons when Bart and all the bullies are sitting around there and they're talking about Jebediah Springfield and the statue, and he's like, wouldn't it be cool if someone cut off his head for real? And then Bart does it, and they're like, dude, that was just cloud talk, we would never actually do that. It's like, it's one thing to just enjoy this and talk about it, like ha 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 ha, but do I really want that to happen in real life? No, not at all.
That's actually back, many years before The Simpsons sucked. That since you bring that up, that's a pretty good message. I think that's where you do have to. I mean, you got to obviously. Horror is the kind of stuff that's not for everybody, and kids in particular. I mean, you gotta make sure the kid is aware, so that it's baloney, and that's when they're ready to enjoy horror movies. When they know it's not real, when they can handle it, and when they don't think it's cool, when they can separate enjoying watching a masked maniac in a movie and understanding that in reality a masked maniac is a really bad thing that you don't want to see.
Right,
yeah. Sorry. Well,
no, I mean, it's just that I can like one thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in some way like disturbed.
Yes.
I can be a Christian, like you're saying,
yes,
and still like to watch this. The two of those are not, like exclusive.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
Right. You don't have to be I also don't think to be a good person or to, an imperfect but good person who means well, as most humans are. You don't necessarily have to be a monk that never dips into things like horror cinema or or beer. I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, totally.
You don't have to be a perfect. You don't have to be a saint to be a good person.
And this is completely off topic, but I do like what you just said. because I don't think that gets passed around enough to people, is that you don't have to be a saint to be a good person.
Right.
And I think sometimes people get bogged down in that, thinking that, because I'm not saintly, or because, I don't do everything, strictly in like the right way, that I can't be a good person. And it's like, well, yeah, you can be. You can still be a good person and not be perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing that really makes you a good person more than anything else is a desire to be a good person.
Yeah.
And to try to be a good person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
because as long as you're trying, you're making progress.
Yeah. Well, too. And this is like kind of a heavy philosophical thing, but I think it's important from a religious perspective that there's a difference between sin and vice, and people often don't really think about that. That, like, just because you engage in a vice on occasion doesn't necessarily mean that you're engaging in a sin.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of that divorce is, too. That people aren't really thinking of horror movies or rock music or drinking as a vice. They're thinking, oh, you're fraternizing with the devil. And it's like, no, I'm engaging in entertainment because it's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Going off to have a release, and it's not the most wholesome thing in the world, but it's also not, it's not the most deviant damn thing in the world either, It's like if at a death metal concert they ever start like sacrificing goats, I'm out of there, but it's if they're just singing a bunch of just singing about rah Cannibal Corpse up there, just talking about zombies ripping up people, it's like whatever, everyone knows it's for fun. I mean, anyone with half a brain.
But I just to be clear, they would never start off with goats. They'd probably start off with like squirrels,
right.
Then make their way up to rabbits.
Squirrels, they'd probably warm you up with something like that, and then
right. And then it's like, now here come the goats.
Yeah, now we'll break up the goats. It's like a gateway. It's a gateway sacrifice.
That's
those rodents. Like, so at first you're like, it was just a gerbil. Gerbils die all the time. Mice gets all of a sudden they're butchering a cow up there. You're like, what have I gotten myself into?
Well, so I'm going to say two things. First off, for all the parents listening, just as gerbils are a gateway into goat sacrifice.
Right, so watch out. If your kid's sacrificing gerbils, then...
Yeah, I mean, it is the marijuana of animal sacrificing.
Right.
And two, I think if you were a band, as long as you process the meat afterwards, I think you probably could get away with sacrificing a cow on stage.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you're slaughtering a cow, then it could be to feed some, maybe some fans want some really fresh hamburgers. I don't know.
Right, just afterwards, you'd be like, hey, we're going to package this cow up, and, if you guys want some hamburger, by all means.
Yeah, that's for sure how sanitary.
So we get a piece of Dark Lord and feed the hungry at the same time. Yeah. It's a twofer.
Yeah.
It's all about that efficiency,
Acomi, do you remember when Turk was sleeping like a wimp? When we finished filming Old Mossy Rock, we watched Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. You remember that?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that was great.
Right. Wasn't that a creepy movie?
Yeah, it was pretty unsettling.
Yeah, they just creeped the heck out of me when I was a teenager. I think I saw that when I was 14. And give a shout out to Alan Ormsby. I'm Facebook friends with that guy. He was the obnoxious guy. Alan. I think his name was Alan in the movie.
Nice.
What are some of his lines? Like, oh man. Then when I'm done with him, I'm going to take them all apart and use his pieces for bookends or maybe a mobile. Or I don't know.
I remember the thing that disturbed me most in that movie was that the guy did like the wedding ceremony with the dead
corpse.
Body.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, that was like really fucked up.
So yeah, that was a twist. The atmosphere of that movie just got under my skin so bad. It's such a good creepy movie.
Oh yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you told me about the Babadook too. I saw the Babadook. Man, that messed with me hard. It's like I say, some of these ghost movies mess with me real bad.
Oh yeah, yeah. Babadook is truly disturbing.
Oh yeah. That's the kind of stuff. Like, I might challenge myself. The first time I watched Paranormal Entity, oh my lord, man. I mean, because I was in my buddy's basement and he was off at the time. I was visiting him and he was not there, so I'm by myself. And then his brother's wife said, "You got to check this out," left it with me. It was another one of those, man. I just had to turn it off.
Yeah.
I got up and I had to like take a little walk around the basement. Oh Lord, scared the heck out of me. Yeah, I think the blood and guts. I think that is for fun because it's just so, it's just so cheesy. It's just so fake looking. Some of this ghost stuff is just way too freaky.
I'll say this. For me, sometimes the faker it is, the more disturbing it is.
Okay.
Like when you watch an old like horror movie from like a cheesy one from like the 80s, or if you watch like a really bad one from the 70s, I'd say it's 60s blood in horror movies.
Yeah.
I can't stand. It's just because it looks like paint. And so it doesn't look real, but then at the same time, it makes it just kind of like, oh, it just looks bad, and I'm like, dude, I don't like it.
Okay.
It's just like, oh. But sometimes when you're watching a movie, a horror movie, where the effects are so bad, they can just be like, oh man, that just looks even worse than if it was trying to be more realistic,
Right. I guess I can get that. Nice.
Not like what we just saw in the Splatter University.
Right.
Because those were just bad for just the sake of being bad.
I watched one that was called like Ghoul School or something, and I was really bothered by how they had the guts coming apart when the zombies were ripping people up, because they had clearly like water balloons filled with blood inside, and so it was really kind of sickening to me. It was actually sickening to me to see a body come apart and it's filled with like rubber hoses and balloons.
Oh.
That was like so gross to imagine a body being ripped apart and he's got water balloons inside of him. I don't know why. I thought it was just so. Yeah. I didn't like that. Maybe that goes with what you're saying at all.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something, Acomi?
Oh no, I was just like I said, I'm just kind of rambling at this point.
Oh.
But I think what I like about stuff like the Babadook and just kind of those like you're talking about, like the paranormal, the ghost hauntings, and the demonic possession movies. I think what I like about those is that those are a little more thought provoking for me.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So that kind of harkens back to what I was talking about earlier. Like different horror movies do different things for me, because I consider like Friday the 13th to kind of be like almost mindless entertainment. I can just kind of shut down and watch it, but. Something like the Babadook or like the Omen or something that really that makes me start asking some big questions. Yeah, I enjoy this on a very different level.
That's significantly heavier stuff going on right there. Yeah, the horror really does go all over the spectrum, and the cheap stuff is really fun, and then you get the really heavy duty stuff. It's like, wow, I didn't see that. I can't even remember the guy who directed Hereditary, Midsummer or something like that. I saw the ad for that. I want to see that. That looks like it's going to be another one of those. It looks.
Didn't he also do? Heredity? Or is that a different guy?
Yeah. Is that what I said, or Hereditary or something?
You said Midsummer, and I was like, wasn't that the same guy that did Heredity?
Yeah. That's as far as I understand. That's what I thought I heard. Okay. Next to sure, but like I said, I'm not the source book, so if I get details wrong, listeners, then don't freak out or anything. I just I don't take notes. But yeah, that looks like another one of those movies that's gonna kind of mess with me a little bit. I'm mighty eager to see it though. I don't know. I hope it's freaky in a different way, because if I thought it was anywhere near as freaky as Hereditary, I might just have to hold off for a while.
It's interesting to hear a horror movie fan being like, I want it to be like good and freaky and scary and this, but not too much. Oh. There are limits to.
I'm just getting older. I got my limits, I think. Sometimes I'm just like, nah. It's like those creepy possession ghost ones. Sometimes I just nah, gonna pass. I was actually there is one other kind of horror movie. The nihilistic ones, where it's just chaos, and
give me an example.
A test of endurance. Seen stuff like that. just splatter films that are very unapologetic.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've watched some of those just almost as just like a test. I mean, it's fake, but they're just like so. We talked about the guinea pig films, and hey, we were just talking about guinea pigs. Look at that. Yeah, the guinea pig films are just such blatant trash. It's fake. It's not real, but the depictions are just so awful.
You see, I don't care for gore fest movies.
Right.
Well, okay. So you were talking about your Italian ones, right?
Right.
And a lot of the modern stuff that I've seen, they're this like this gore fest, but there's no real horror to it. There's no plot. It's just I'm gonna put a bunch of like blood and stuff like that on the screen, and that's gonna be what scares you. But it's like that should not be the scary part.
Yeah.
The scary part should be whatever it is that made that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and it's shifting away. So like a lot of the gore stuff, I'm like, you're not tantalizing me in any way. I'm not being like stimulated. Oh, and like the scare, like the being scared and that kind of stuff. None of that's there. I'm just being bombarded with these images of stuff that's like, this should make you scared. Like, yeah, but it doesn't.
I don't.
That'd be like me going into Bed Bath & Beyond and seeing knives and go, oh my God, that was the scary thing I ever seen. They had knives, all kinds of knives, and I think I saw a blender. I mean, like, no, it's not scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just bring those up. They're just a different kind. I've watched some of those before. Just even like Netflix had a couple of them. The DVD rentals. There's one called like Grotesque or something like that. One Korean one about a butcher. It's just kind of like Saw ripoffs, but I mean they had far less substance than even Saw, because it was just people abducted and brutally destroyed. And it's like it's only that it's fake, but still you just feel so dirty watching that shit. It's just like a test of endurance. Like I saw, well, I've heard all this shit about it. Everyone keeps on talking about a Serbian film, and
oh yeah, I've heard about that. I have no interest.
I've heard enough about it that I just do not want to watch it. That's actually where I kind of draw the line.
Oh yeah, that is like super far past the line for me.
Yeah, and understanding that it's fake is like the one. I mean that's fine, but it's like at the same time, that's where I'm just gonna sing. Maybe someday I'll like just suddenly get this little itch, like, okay, let me just see if I can do this. That hasn't happened yet.
And I know the movie's trying to make a point.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, but it's there's no way I could suffer through it to get to that point.
I thought my impression was that it was just sick for the sake of being sick.
No, it actually. The story as I've been told is this guy that is being brought into doing this thing, he's slowly being being pushed and tested to do these different things, and I don't even think in some cases he's aware of like that it's real, but it's like, and I think the whole point of it is kind of like how people slowly start to become numb to atrocities.
Yeah. Ugh.
And it's like, well, this is something you should never become numb to.
Okay, all right. Well, if there's a lesson to be learned in there about maintaining our humanity, as we should, that's a lesson. I could probably learn that lesson without watching that movie.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like, it's a little too real, and we've talked about this, like, off mic so many times that, a big thing for me with horror movies is that there's some kind of divorce from reality with so many of them. Because, like, there's some kind of supernatural element to, like, Jason or to Freddy or something that, it lets you go, yeah, okay, it's just a movie, but then all the shit they do in a Serbian film that I've read about, it's like, no, that's shit that really happens. That stuff goes on.
Yeah.
And I don't want to think about that. I'm trying to escape here for a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to be upset.
Right.
Yeah. So some of it gets me. Yeah, sometimes if I'm not in the mood. Actually, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. is interesting because, like a lot of Hollywood, ironically, depicts these killers as being like these really cool, rebellious, like whatever. It's like this almost romanticized, which that's very questionable actually when you think about it. But Henry's Portrait of a Serial Killer, in a way, in the sense we were just talking about a Serbian film, as my good friend Josh pointed out, he said it's it's not romanticized. It's just saying there's killers. They're just animals. They're not human. And I said, yeah, that's a pretty good point, and you watch this thing. It's just really freaky and upsetting. And I can handle most of the film, but the home invasion scene, I actually refuse to watch anymore. It's that's way too much for me.
Yeah.
I actually, last time it was on TV or something, and Josh and I were watching it one time. I said, I just can't handle that damn scene. I think I ended up going to take a leak while that scene was going on or something like that. Josh Salater said, he says it's kind of important because it's just saying these people are not human. You watch their story and it's like, don't start to think that they're anti-heroes, or they're, just killing, bad guys or something like that. It's nothing like that. They're just, dehumanized pieces of garbage. And I guess that's the point. And I guess if there's anything to be taken from that, it's the good acting. And
that's Michael Rooker,
Michael
right?
Rooker, who's a great actor, and the very vivid. It's like it's a good movie that was pretty heavy duty. I think the only point was watch out.
So I think that's a great transition to something I wanted to kind of talk about since we're kind of on this topic, is looking at your kind of mainstay horror movie characters. So we'll talk about like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Chucky, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We can watch those and we can enjoy them because with each one of them, there's something that is not normal.
Yes.
And they don't exist in our real world. But if I'm going to watch something like Henry, that's completely different because one, that's semi, it's got some fictional accounts to it, but that's telling a real story.
Yes.
And with these other things, like I can separate myself from them in reality because I know that when people die, whether good or bad, when they die, they stay dead. There's no making a pact with the dream gods, There's no, like sticking a pole in my chest during a lightning storm to bring me back. There's no magical William Shatner mask that's going to keep me going. I mean, nothing like that.
Yes.
So it's like I can watch them and having them come back and or whatever, and then it's like, oh, they can take all this punishment and damage and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay because again, no matter how realistic like the depictions of any of the scenes are, these people are not real in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. Yeah, they're very fantastical, which separate. Like I said, there's a difference between the human killer and the alien demon clown. And man, I must be getting tired. No, there was one other thing you were saying that I wanted to add something to that. Oh, for crying out loud! Oh well, daggone. Well, I did make my point about the alien demon clown. That's the thing that kind of separates it from being too close to home. Too freaky. Ah, damn! It was right on the tip of my tongue too. There was something else I was going to add on to that. I really wanted to share that. Oh Lord.
Well, if it comes back, just throw it right in.
I'll throw it right in there. Yeah, sorry guys.
That's cool.
Getting tired. My mind's going to start going a little come unwired a little. Oh,
but I was just going to say, yeah, keep thinking. Yeah. But when we're looking at these or think about these kind of movies, and just like when you say, okay, I want to sit down and watch a horror movie, which I assume you do more often than anybody else, and would you like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna watch a horror movie, and you're like, I'm in the mood to see, what? So when you go to sit down, you're like, okay, I want to see, and then what takes over after
Sure,
that for you?
absolutely. Well, I hope this answers your question. Though that's a good question. I hope I'm answering it right. If this is what you were going for, I talked about how much I love Argento. One thing I even heard, I think William Lustig or something, the Maniac Cop guy, said something pretty similar. He said when he watches these movies, he gets to be kind of whisked away to Italy or Rome or something. Uh, and I love seeing this other place. I love seeing these beautiful places around the world. I think that's a really big thing for me. Um, I've seen movies, horror movies take place in Greece. I mean, it's my genre, but I also like to travel with it too. I like to see different places and cultures. And when the big Japanese horror thing hit, I was all aboard with that. I've always been so fascinated by the East and whatnot, and getting to see these horror stories unfold in Japan was just a real pleasure to me. Ju-on and what have you, and The Ring and whatnot. I mean, I got this movie called what was it, the Tag Along or something. Got it real cheap. It's part 1 and 2. It's called the Tag Along 1 and 2. Of course, the DVD itself is called The Haunted. So go figure. I don't know, but yeah, if you look up The Haunted.
So you got 3 movies.
Well, it's the by the DVD. It's called The Haunted, but the 2 movies it contains is called the Tag Along Part 1 and 2, and I think they're Chinese movies. And watching them was just kind of cool to see. I visited Beijing the one time, and it's a nice way to escape to these places, and while you're at it, enjoy a cool little ghost flick. Um, so yeah, I really like movies that actually take place in very exotic locales. I like horror that takes place in tropical areas. So location for sure, and sometimes I might just want to watch. Sometimes I might be in a mood. I want to watch a zombie movie. I do go all over the board. It does kind of depend on what mood I'm in. So
like when you're doing that though, is there? I mean, like you say, okay, so I'm trying to think of something like a horror movie that I have that I go to some. We'll talk about this. It's horror, but it's not like one of the I think the typical horrors we're talking about. But we did mention it in the other thing, Night of the Creeps.
Oh sure, yeah.
I love Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps is fantastic.
It's just way too much fun,
It is, and it's got a fun story. I love that about it. It has, even though it's a horror movie, I don't really have any. It doesn't really have, I guess I would say, any historic, any real horror elements to it, because there's nothing about that says, like if I'm gonna go to the bathroom in the middle of the night where I'm gonna be like, oh, are there any space slugs around here? Let me let me grab a match or my lighter to make sure, as opposed to if I was gonna go check my mail in the middle of the night, be like, you know what, mail's not going anywhere. I can wait till morning.
Yeah.
If I was watching like some other kind of like movie, but I'll go and I'll watch Night of the Creeps because I'm looking for something fun. I'm looking for I'm when I go to that, I'm not really looking to see people die, but I am looking for something kind of creative and cheesy.
Yes.
Just like if I'm going to watch a Friday the 13th movie, I'm not saying, I want to see something that's going to show a bunch of people dying, right? Mm-hmm. I want to see something that's going to be, entertaining and, and creative.
Yes.
And, which I think is one of the things with the Friday the 13th movies is that part of that whole genre is every movie, Jason's got to kill somebody. And I think it's with most horror things like that. We've got sequels. He's going to kill people in a unique way, right? Because you don't want to see the same old thing. You want something new with characters but something that also is entertaining. Even if the plot is as loose as possible, right?
Yes.
You want to see something else, and it's not necessarily that I want to see people getting killed, but I do want, like you said, that shock. I want that little bit of a jump, that adrenaline, and then but in the end, I want everything to be okay.
Yeah, that you summed it up perfectly. And I got a couple of things to add to that. I have several thoughts. One, Night of the Creeps, I actually caught on DC-20 as a kid. You know, it was edited for television. That's one way a kid like me could see these films. And actually, back then, it scared the heck out of me, which kind of goes back to my point about, you know, there's a time when kids are ready. I was mature enough to know it was fake, and that people. Zombies killing people was not cool if it happened in real life, but that movie still scared me, felt real enough at that time when the axe killer came around at the beginning. So I remember that. Now it's just incredibly fun.
You know, I'm sorry, the axe killer part is great, but even though you don't really see him, but when he comes back the second time and he meets him in the alley and he turns around and gives that grin, I love that. Yeah,
that messed with me so bad when Tom Atkins has that dream and he turns around and he sees a skeleton. Oh my Lord, that when I was a kid, I still remember that was actually really freaky to like a 9-10-year-old kid. And one other thing I wanted to say, when I'm going, like I mostly watch horror movies, of course, and I watch them go to sleep sometimes, and it's the really bad, lousy ones that are actually perfect to go to sleep to because they're, you know, dull because they're just so bad. And there's an abundance of those, you know, you can watch on Netflix or what have you. Really good horror movies, I got to avoid watching those at night because I might get into them too much. I watch them more ritualistically when I have the energy to sit and focus in on a movie. But when I'm just going to bed, a crappy horror movie is almost ideal. And third, I just want to say I remembered what I was going to talk about. We were talking about how the fantasy kind of takes away all the horrible stuff that's going on in that it's fantasy. Stephen King made a reference. He, you know, made the point. He said, like, amazingly enough, everyone is rooting Freddy Krueger on. Well, who is Freddy Krueger? He was a child killer, you know, and we're all like, yay, it's Freddy. There's Freddy, you know. It's like, but I mean, it's, you know, but actually, it's Robert Englund in makeup with this pitch shifted voice, making one-liners, and he's an incredibly entertaining guy. It's way too much fun to see. So it's like, it's kind of funny because when the concept was originated by Wes Craven, it was pretty damn freaky and horrible and awful. He was trying to make something real, and then it morphed into something just with a ton of fun. But it's kind of ironic when you think about the roots of that character.
Right. And that is funny because when you because you know, as we've talked about, it's like a lot of this is where the people that are being killed, you know, as the movie's going along, are you have a couple people that are like the innocent ones because, you know, you've got to get that outrage.
Yes.
Because you've got to have the ones that you like die because there's so many people that are really just fodder, you know, that you want to see dead. But if that's all he's doing is just killing all the people you want to see dead, it's like, this guy's not really that bad, you know, in a fictional kind of way. But you're right. It's like, but the guy that's killing these people is a bad guy. He's always been a bad guy. Jason never really was a bad guy. It's not his fault. No one ever taught him how to swim. Right? That's not his fault.
But misunderstood kid.
Which Acomi and I were talking about that earlier about but you know, really, I think that all Jason is just a mama's boy. You know, because he's like, kill him, Jason, kill him for mommy. It's like, you know, if he actually thought about it, it's like, you know, I really don't have anything against these guys, you know, because like, you know, the guys that watch me drown, you killed them, so I'm good. The rest of these guys are just here having some fun, you know, fornicating, drinking some beer, smoking weed or whatever, right? But it's you're the one that's like, kill him, do it for mommy. You're like, oh, fine,
okay, sure thing.
But you know, but Freddy is horrible. He really is a bad guy. So I shouldn't feel that good about him killing other people because it's like, but you should be right along with them. Yeah, she's an annoying bitch or whatever, and this guy's is a dick. But at least they weren't killing kids, right? And once high school's over, I don't have to talk to them anymore.
Yeah. True. This has been a lot of fun. I'm having a good time. I should probably split soon because it's creeping up on 2.
Oh yeah. We have been going for like an hour and 10 minutes,
been
guys.
Really awesome. So. And sorry if I missed it. I might have missed the code name a couple times there. I apologize about that. I don't know how. crucial that one.
It's that's all right. I'm not really shy about my name personally.
You can always edit it out if you really. Anyway, Acomi and Turk.
Yeah, you just doxed me a couple times. It's no big deal.
just edit it out. Anyway, whatever. I did want to say, I'm curious though. You guys get together, you say about once a month and do these things.
Yeah, we try to. We're actually trying to we're trying to set it up so we can do this a little more often. Because when we say once a month, sometimes what happens is things get in the way. And then it's like, well, we'll just put it off till next month, because we don't want to do one weekend and like turn around and do another weekend. 'Cause sometimes that's a bit too much. But yeah, we're trying to do at least once a month.
I think that's cool. I was thinking we could potentially, just to have it on hand for a weekend where y'all can't get together. Maybe we can find a way to wire up a Skype call between the three of us from our respective locations. I don't know, to do it like if we got the urge to do it on a weekend, if a weekend came around, we wanted to do another podcast and you guys were not visiting each other. I don't know.
Yeah,
just a thought. This has been real fun, and I couldn't overdo it either because I need sleep on weekends, but every once in a while it's totally cool. And so yeah, I guess I'm saying I don't mean to cut it short, and I hope we can do this again and pick up and geek talk some more stuff for sure, because this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been great.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get you on too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any final thoughts on all of this. I mean, we can pick up horror again too, and just mix it in with other things, whatever you guys want to geek talk, any kind of cool movies we've seen or something like that. Anything cool happening, we can talk about our movies in the future. And yeah. Anyway, are you guys gonna plug anything?
Let's see. Well, I guess it's something we talked about and we keep saying we're going to do. Of course, you can find us. We're still working on the website, but you can always find us on YouTube. The Corova Entertainment.
Yep. And you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Acomi Draws.
And you can find me at Turk182_KE.
Yeah.
Because some reason somebody else out there actually likes the movie Turk182. I'm not quite sure who that is.
Probably the guy who played the character.
Dude, I'm sure he's played better characters and later on, but he was going to fall back to, remember me? Oh, it's Turk182. Hey, give me another beer, goddammit. But, so yeah, you can find me there. I don't tweet a lot, and I guess maybe I should, but I guess if you guys followed me more, then I would be more inclined to maybe say some more stupid stuff.
How about it, Leroy? How about your plugins?
Absolutely, I'll do that. Now, one more thing I want to add. I'm actually I'm looking into getting some screen capture. Hypothetically, we could do these and capture a Skype conversation in the future potentially.
Oh sure.
I think it would be fun for YouTube purposes, so everyone can see our. I don't know if we ever if you guys decide we want our handsome faces out there with these things. But that's
totally, man. Check out OBS. OBS is free software and it's really good. It's like, oh yeah, it's super great. It's what I use for all my screen capture needs.
It's just a thought. I just thought I'd throw that out there. We can consider different possibilities in the future depending on what y'all are aiming for. Okay, so my plugs. Yeah, everybody look for the movies I did with our friends here, Acomi and Turk182, Mossy Rock and Old Mossy Rock. Check out the new DVD with called The Eggs of Darkness Have Hatched. And check out my books and comics at amazon.com/author/Lee Davis. And if I've said anything that offends you, go cry to your mama about it, because I'm sure she wants to hear all about it. You can give her a big hug. No, but seriously, God bless you all. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it. And, keep enjoying horror movies, but not romantic comedies, because those are actually the true evil of this world.
Hey, I would agree with that. There.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I were the devil, that's what I would use.
Yeah.
I'll say goodbye to you here, you guys here for the podcast, and then I'll say all the really politically incorrect stuff after I turn off this recording. So goodbye.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Later, man.
All right there, folks. That was Our Moms Think We're Funny. Let's give them a hand.